Saint Pio of Pietrelcina, Padre Pio, the priest who bore the stigmata, a saint of the 20th century. Throughout history, the Catholic Church has been blessed by God with extraordinary witnesses, men and women who lived among the world, yet carried within them a supernatural light and strength, becoming living signs of God's love for humanity. Among these figures, Saint Pio of Pietrelcina, commonly known as Padre Pio, shines as a saint of the modern era, leaving behind a profound spiritual influence upon the entire world. Padre Pio was born on May 25, 1887, in Pietrelcina, a small village in southern Italy. He grew up in a poor farming family, but one steeped in an atmosphere of deep faith. From an early age, Francesco Forgione, his baptismal name, revealed both remarkable piety and unusual mystical experiences. His entire priestly life became closely tied to the town of San Giovanni Rotondo, where he prayed, heard confessions, suffered, and eventually was laid to rest. The fame of Padre Pio spread because of many aspects: supernatural phenomena such as the stigmata on his body, the ability to read hearts, bilocation, and fierce battles with the devil. Yet above all these extraordinary events, Padre Pio was first and foremost a humble priest, totally consecrated to God and to the flock entrusted to him. He became a spiritual father to millions of faithful, a place where countless souls came for forgiveness, consolation, and strengthening in faith. In 2002, Pope John Paul II canonized him, solemnly confirming before the whole Church that Padre Pio's life was a radiant model of holiness, obedience, and love. From a poor countryside to a chosen sign. Francesco Forgione was born into a poor peasant family. His parents, Grazio Forgione and Maria Giuseppa D'Annunzio, though materially deprived, were rich in faith. They lived simply, worked diligently, and raised their children in a deeply religious spirit. From his earliest years, Francesco was different from other children. He preferred prayer to play, spent long hours in the village church, and developed a special devotion to the Eucharist and to the Virgin Mary. At the age of 5, Francesco began to have visions. He saw Jesus, the Blessed Virgin, and also endured violent assaults from the devil. This frail little boy experienced spiritual conflict from the very start, something that would later become inseparable from his journey to holiness. Life in Pietrelcina was far from easy. Drought, failed harvests, and constant poverty weighed heavily. Francesco's father often had to leave for America to work and earn money for the family's survival. Yet, in the midst of poverty, faith was preserved as the family's most precious treasure. Francesco grew up in this environment, imbued with humility, trust in God, and a burning desire to consecrate himself entirely to the Lord, entering religious life and taking vows. At the age of 15, Francesco entered the Capuchin Franciscans. Clothed in the brown habit, he received the religious name Pio, meaning pious or devout. At the time, no one could have imagined that this name would become a prophetic sign of his entire life of holiness. The years of formation for Fra Pio were filled with trials, strict discipline, an austere lifestyle, long hours of prayer, combined with fragile health that often forced him into periods of rest. He suffered from lung and stomach illnesses and came close to death several times. Yet within this suffering, his union with the crucified Christ deepened profoundly. On August 10, 1910, in Benevento, Fra Pio was ordained a priest. From that day, his life entered a new phase, to live entirely for his priestly vocation, becoming an instrument of salvation in the hands of God, mystical phenomena, and the stigmata. The most distinctive aspect of Padre Pio's life was the mystical phenomena, above all, the stigmata. On September 20th, 1918, while praying in the chapel at San Giovanni Rotondo, Padre Pio experienced a vision of the crucified Christ. Following this vision, he bore on his body 5 wounds identical to those of Jesus on the cross, in his hands, feet, and side. These wounds bled continuously, causing indescribable pain, and remained visible for 50 years until his death. Many doctors and scientists examined them, but no medical explanation was found. For the Church, this was both a mystery and a trial. For many years, Padre Pio was restricted from celebrating Mass publicly and from hearing confessions freely. Yet Padre Pio accepted everything with absolute obedience, without complaint, regarding it as a deeper participation in the cross of Christ. In addition to the stigmata, Padre Pio was associated with many extraordinary graces. Reading of souls. He knew in advance the sins and struggles of penitents coming to confession. By location. Many testified to seeing him in far-off places while he remained in San Giovanni Rotondo. Fragrance of sanctity. A mysterious perfume like flowers emanated from his body and wounds. Visions and spiritual combat. He endured violent attacks from the devil, often left bruised, yet he saw them as a share in the Church's cosmic spiritual battle. Ministry of Confession and Spiritual Direction. Padre Pio became known as the priest of the confessional. Every day he would spend 12 to 16 hours hearing confessions, reconciling souls with God, and bringing countless people back to faith. At certain times, thousands from across the globe traveled to San Giovanni Rotondo for the sole purpose of confessing to him. He was not lenient. If he sensed that a penitent was not truly repentant, he would firmly refuse absolution, demanding genuine conversion. But when he encountered sincere contrition, he revealed himself as a father overflowing with mercy. Many testified that merely looking into Padre Pio's eyes gave them light, peace, and the assurance of being loved. Beyond confession, Padre Pio became the spiritual guide of many souls, ordinary laypeople, intellectuals, clergy, religious, politicians, and soldiers alike. Work of charity. The House for the Relief of Suffering. One of Padre Pio's most tangible legacies was the establishment of Casa Sollievo della Sofferenza, the House for the Relief of Suffering. Inaugurated in 1956, this hospital became a modern medical center, serving not only the body but also the spirit of the sick. Padre Pio once said, "The poor are God's privileged children. We must love them not only with prayer but also with concrete acts." This work stands as a living witness to his practical love for those who suffer. Trials and obedience. Padre Pio was not always trusted. For decades, the Church placed him under strict supervision. At certain times, he was forbidden to celebrate public Mass or to meet freely with the faithful. Misunderstandings, accusations, and suspicion caused him deep suffering. Yet Padre Pio chose silence, prayer, and obedience. This attitude became a powerful testimony to the depth of his holiness. Final years and death. In his final years, Padre Pio's health declined, yet he remained faithful to Mass and the confessional. On the night of September 22 to 23, 1968, after celebrating his last Mass, he passed away peacefully at the age of 81. His final words were, "Jesu Maria," Jesus, Mary. Over 100,000 people attended his funeral in San Giovanni Rotondo. To many, he had already been a living saint during his lifetime. Canonization and legacy. In 1982, the formal process for his canonization began. After years of study, in 1999, Pope John Paul II beatified him. And in 2002, the same Pope canonized Padre Pio before millions gathered in St. Peter's Square. Today, throughout the world, tens of thousands of Padre Pio prayer groups continue his spiritual legacy. Prayer, union with Christ's suffering, and works of mercy. A witness of the cross and of hope. St. Pio of Pietrelcina leaves humanity a simple yet profound message. Pray, hope, and don't worry. His life was a long cross, yet also a hymn of love. Love for God, for people, and for the Church. From the small village of Pietrelcina to his tomb in San Giovanni Rotondo, Padre Pio's journey has become the journey of millions seeking God. He was not merely a Capuchin friar, not merely a stigmatized man, but a living witness of Christian hope, a spiritual father for the whole world.